Hello, hi, good afternoon, everyone. I hope that everybody is doing well and everybody is nice. Okay, so everyone, in this video, we are going to discuss about one of the most beautiful chapter of class plus 2, that is the last lesson. This is the first lesson of the book The Flamingo, but that is the last lesson. So it's not like that the last lesson is this one. The chapter name is the last lesson. Okay, so we'll cover this topic and we'll try to understand this topic one by one, that what is there in this chapter, and we will also discuss some important questions which are being asked in exams. Okay, so because I'm going to cover this video from CBSE point of view, so because in CBSE point of view, mostly what sort of questions are being asked, so we have to take care of those things also. Okay, so first of all, let's discuss about the last lesson. There is a chapter written by the Alfonso Dobbett. Okay, and the background. So we'll firstly try to discuss the background and setting of the chapter, and we will also discuss the summary of the chapter. See the background. This chapter is set in the Franco-Prussian War. Okay, Franco-Prussian War during 1870 to 71. So this talks about the events which happened with when French got defeated. When French got defeated by Prussian forces, and Prussian forces had captured two districts of France, that is Alsace and Lorraine. Two districts have been captured, and the order were there that there will be French will be not taught in schools, only German will be taught in schools. So this chapter talks about that, how has it impacted the lives of the people and lives of the student, lives of the society at large in that point of time. So here we will discuss in this chapter. So it has also impacted two person lives. One is Mr. Hamel and the villagers, and also the narrator whose name was French. And so how has it impacted French and how his attitude toward learning French. So we will discuss everything in this chapter, right? See guys, most of the students, what they do, that they just read only summary of the chapter, and they think that they have gone through the chapters, and they think that it is enough. See, it can be enough for state board, it can be enough for state board like HP, Haryana and some other state board, but in CBSE it is not enough. All right, because questions are there like this one, like, don't go so fast, you will get your school in time. Right, like this is a sentence, this is a quote said by Mr. Watcher, right, to writer, to narrator. Then the questions will be there that okay, what um, what did French interpret from this statement? Okay, French, what did French interpret from this statement? So you have to actually figure out that what did French actually taken out from this statement, right? So you would be able to answer only this if you have read it in the book, right, or if you have gone through the chapter thoroughly. If you will just go through the summary, you won't be able to get this thing. So it is very important to go through the chapter, especially from CBSE point of view, and we will try to cover all the chapters with these kind of details only. So here I have made some points here in this side as well as in the other side as well. So I mentioned some major point, I have mentioned some main quotes said by the writer, or sometimes the Mr. Hamel, and some other persons who are involved in the story. So that what happened, that you must be able to answer those questions or answer those statements, or you must be able to recognize their meaning or hidden meaning behind that. You should be able to know that. Okay, so let's start. So little friends fears of the test on participle. Okay, so now the story start from the French fear about the test. So Mr. Hamel, Mr. Hamel had to take a test of participle of French. So he was very much worried about the test. He had too much fear because he was not he was not good in the participle, right? So he was too much worried, and he got ready, and then when he started to going to school, then he reached at the town hall. Where he saw where there was a big bulletin board is a kind of news board. Okay, so the narrator said that all the bad news were from there. All the bad news used to be there, on war, on some other things used to be there. And there he noticed that some different things were there. Some Prussian soldiers were drilling in the mill, and one person was there. So he said to him, "Don't go so fast. You will get to your school in time." That watcher said to, he was a blacksmith. He was a blacksmith, and he said these words to what we say that these were to friends. Okay, and friends got. Friends thought that he was making fun of him and he might get late, okay, for the school. So he just ran quickly to the schools, and when he reached the schools, there the scene was completely different. It was completely different in what was there in schools. Okay, what was there in the school, which we have to find out. Okay, so when he reached in the school, what happened that the situation was completely different. Earlier, what used to happen that the noise from the classroom used to be heard in streets, but now what is happening that there was no sound. It was completely silent. Okay, but now it was also still. See, this the writer has said these lines, and the question can also come that, okay, why the narrator has said, or why the narrator has mentioned those lines in the text, right? But now it was also still. So the writer wanted to say that, the narrator wanted to say that it was so still. It was not like usual. It was like Sunday morning. It was like Sunday morning. Everybody was very quiet. So he was trying to go to his seat without making any noise. So then Mr. Hamill saw him, and he said to him, "Go to your place, little friends." All right. So when French heard these words, "Go to your place, little French," he was completely shocked that what happened? What happened today? Right? All of a sudden, how did it get changed? He was in a fear that he will scold him, he will beat him up, that he came late because his personality, in terms of because Mr. Hamill's personality in French's mind was like that. He is a very cranky person, and who used to have a scale every time on his hand, iron scale every time on his hand. He used to wrap that iron scale on the board, on the table, every time on the desk, or you can say on the table, right? So there, what happened that, "Go to your place, little French," Mr. Hamill said. Okay, so this friend started noticing that why is it so different. There was no noise at all. And when he looked at the Mr. Hamill's appearance, when he noticed that his appearance, Mr. Hamill has worn new clothes. Mr. Hamill has worn new clothes, and at the back of the classroom, and at the back of the room, friends noticed that there were some villagers also, right? There were one houser, and there were a former postman, and there were some other persons were also there. They were sitting at the back of the classroom, and there was one person who was reading a primer. Primer is a kind of reference book. He was reading the primer, and everybody was in very silent, or everybody was in very different kind of environment. So by this way, uh, okay, so when then this happened that Mr. Hamill said that the order has come from Berlin. So he stood up and said these lines in a very emotional manner, that the order has come from Berlin, that now the French will not be taught in schools, only Germans are interested to school. So that shall be my last lesson for the students, right? So this statement he said, and he so that actually yeah, that actually that shocked the French, that how did it happen, how quickly it can happen. So then come to the next point. Okay, yeah. Okay, so then you can see that, okay, a sudden shock to friends. So it was a sudden shock to friends. Okay, it was a sudden shock to friends, that, okay, because he had not given proper attention to French before, and he was doing retrospection. He was doing retrospection that, okay, why did I waste my time too much in, playing and doing some other things? How can it be the last lesson? He was in a kind of shock. He was in a kind of shock. How it can be a last lesson? Then Mr. Hamill, what did he do? That he asked him to recite the lessons, but he was completely, that he was unable to recognize, and he was full of shame, and he felt ashamed, and I'm sorry, he felt ashamed, and he was not able to stand. He was not able to look into his eyes. So, and he felt very sorry that, okay, why can't he, that answers, why can't he answer the lesson of, why can't he answer the Mr. Hamill's questions, right? Okay. And mostly what happened that, that so normally he was trying to understand that, okay, why didn't he, Mr. Hamill is now going on the next day, so now I don't know anything about French, so I should be learning French actually. So he was in very much worried. So it happens, that a man began to be valued when he is not there. So Mr. Hamill is going next day tomorrow, going next day to some his he has to leave his place, and then French was thinking that he might have learned many things from him. So that is what. So what happened that hmm, Mr. Hamill said to French that, don't worry, you just sit now, but you pretend to be French, but you can not speak or not even write French. So what kind of French you are? He was talking to all other that what kind of French you are? You don't even know how to write, how to speak French. So what kind of French you are, right? So this is what this lesson, and he was giving importance to the French language. He was also saying that French is most beautiful language, and it is key to prison. He was saying that, okay, if you are enslaved by some other forces, so it is your language only which can set you free, which can emancipate you from those bondages. So it is key to prison. So you should not, or even you cannot, or even you will not at all get separate from your own language, that is your mother tongue. So you should get you should never get separated to it. So he was mentioning those things, right? So sometimes question can also come from this, that why did Mr. Hamill said that this one, the language is a key to prison? Why did he say like this one? So you have to explain this answer by that way. Okay. Then Mr. Hamill was getting, that Mr. Hamill was getting uh, emotional or nostalgic, we can say. He wanted to capture the entire scene, whatever he was noticing in front of him. He was looking at outside the window at the garden. There were walnut tree, there were wine plant, and there were also the desk, and the other things in the classroom. They were torn. They were torn off a little. So right, so he was trying to capture all those things in his mind, and the sound of above side room was coming, that his sister was packing, and next day they have to leave, all right. So then Mr. Then he started the lesson on grammar, and then little bit of history, and everybody was able to understand. The last day everybody was able to understand, and the narrator was so in shock that, okay, why didn't I give much attention earlier? Or is it that, am I giving too much attention, or is it that, okay, the Mr. Hamill is teaching in with so patience? So that was the thing that was going on with Mr. Hamill, and that is French. Okay. And at the last, what happened that uh, hmm, okay, right. So Mr. Hamill getting emotional at the last, and he was thinking that, okay, so he was trying to say something, and he just said, my friend said I. So almost he got shocked, and he was very emotional. So he just turned back, and he leaned his head against the wall, and he did not say anything. He just made a gestures, and as big as he could write on the board, he wrote, "Viva, we will love France." Like, it means that we love France. Yeah, long live France. It means, right? So this is what. So this lesson is entirely set on this. So I hope that you have understood the entire thing about this chapter, and so most of the MCQs are being framed from these kind of statement which I have given in you in between, like dialogue, like statements, like quotes been given. Then the questions are asked from this one, and rest we will discuss more detail in the class. Okay, thank you so much. So if you have any questions, if you want to know more about, and if state board student in there, if you are not able to understand, then please let me know. I can make the video in Hindi medium first. I can make video in Hindi as well. Well, thank you so much.